Good evening, America. With the messenger of thought and knowledge. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. I'm going to try to make it short, but it might end up being long. I did a live stream yesterday at my Facebook. Again, I'll try to remember to leave it in the description. A lot of my viewers wanted me to do one of these now. And a lot of my good and considerate friends of mine, good friends of mine, as well as some pretty dedicated viewers, left an inbox in my email, a couple sentences. It's time. What is it time for? It's time for you to hear it. Even a lot of philosophers and thinkers and MCs/philosophers don't even think that the American population is ready for something like this. So, after debating to include Mr. Chauvin's trial, no, not Mr. Sick fuck, as a motherless fuck, and his mother's a cunt and a whore, Mr. Derek Chauvin, here's what should have happened. And then maybe you would have had a symbol of some kind of democracy left in the United States of America. Democracy is everybody on the same page. Bipartisan politics in the context, concept, and definition of democracy is two different sides with two different visions and two different ideological perspectives coming together in some kind of a common ground to make this country free. Let's get to the terms of free under a democratic leadership. Freedom comes with responsibility of all people on all parties. Everybody does their piece. Everybody does their part. There is no two different economic classes, if you will. Everybody's working towards the same goal, which is accepted. Majority accepted. Now, if it was probably towards public health and everybody went to school for this, everybody went to work for this, everything was paid so you can focus on this, especially when they shut down the government, you might not have COVID right now if this was the philosophy of your government. But we're going to stay on the topics tonight and try not to bounce around too much. He should have gotten the death penalty. Everybody in the country wanted that. Everything that Mr. Chauvin did in the video that we saw of him killing this poor bastard, God rest his soul, and God, my condolences to his family, and God bless his family. I don't mean bastard as a bad thing. I mean poor. He was a poor dude, man. This dude. And he should have gotten the death penalty. He murdered somebody on live television. But no, not when you're protected by legal gangbangers. Yeah, but protected by the Democratic leadership. And now he's living and breathing and living quite well in a federal facility, not even maximum security, as well as the television telling you that he was getting 45 to life. Mr. Derek Chauvin is getting 10 to 15 with a chance of parole if he stays with good behavior. His cop buddies work that out. But no, you have a democracy and everything's A-okay. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm being sarcastic, my brothers and sisters of the United States of America, because nobody jumped like they should have on this. We've heard commentary from every entertainer, athlete, celebrity, journalist, newscaster, and high-profile person in the United States of America speak on the fact that we need to shut our mouths and deal with it, and not every cop is a bad cop. Realistically, that's not going to happen. Once you have a government like this that is not giving you what you need, making sure people that are protecting and serving across this country are actually protecting and serving people, you can't trust them. Way too many officers have been breaking laws, beating people day after day after day after day. So I must stand on my principles and disagree with every single spoiled cocksucker in this nation that thinks that we need to shut up and remember that we have to respect the police. Now, if the policeman gives me respect, I might give him respect. I might not. When you hear high-profile people with a lot of money that are living in decent places speak on police brutality, don't listen to them. Athletes, celebrities, actors, and news journalists and newscasters that I just spoke about are not living in environments and areas and cities and towns like we are. They are living in facilities. They are living in gated facilities. They are living in Malibu. They are living in a lot of different places that the state government provides them with the upstanding and utmost and decent and structured and disciplined law enforcement, emergency medical response, and etc. These people do not have to worry about crooked cops beating women, raping women, kidnapping, killing, bribing, selling drugs, and busting people because they're sergeant told them to target the niggas as spics, poor crackers or white trash. That's right. You want better policing, but you don't want better leadership. That's what I wanted to say. Everybody wants better policing, but you're not mentioning the core issue, which is the politicians that you have in power. These entities make it possible, and these entities know the bad apples very well, because the bad apples keep them in power. No crime, no jobs. You don't understand the racket of the United States government. It's a hustle, it's a racket. Poverty maintains power, and power maintains poverty. People are owning people in a free world. No, that doesn't work that way. Some of you may not understand this because you're not used to hearing things in such a direct and serious and unscripted form. Now to get to the commentary, got 4 minutes of America's time to answer you guys. Where am I getting this information? It's not necessarily where I'm getting the information again. When I do speak to people that view these, I speak to policemen, I speak to state and local level politicians. I have not spoken to one high profile person yet, but having discussions through doing these, the proof is in the pudding. Again, to signify and to stand on my principle again, I'm not saying that every single officer of the law in America is bad, but when the overall leadership and the structure of your authority in the United States of America is supposedly maintaining a democratic police culture, you can't trust them. They're not upholding democratic laws, rules, regulations, in which are supposed to be written by the United States government in the Judicial Department. The Judicial Department is the Supreme Court which oversees policing across the entire country. And what they are doing, when you saw Trump revise this law and regulation, what I was trying to say, to answer the secondary conservative Republicans' comment, Trump revised 2 different sections of the police reform. Again, if you will go look at the new police reform and compare it to the original document, all Donald Trump and his administration did was rearrange the 2 sections. He didn't change any laws. He did not reform policing in America, because the power structure is not going to get rid of the bad apples that keep the crime alive and kicking, which keeps jobs in a democratic and a conservative environment, speaking in terms of conservative economy. Economy in America is crime, drugs, rackets, and low wages. So again, I'm going to leave it here because I don't want to piss on anybody's parade. This is something that I was debating with my consistent viewers on giving the United States of America, because a lot of you don't hear it because you're conditioned in political titles, economic titles. Actually, some of you are actually conditioned in racist judgment and targeted poverty, and that's not to be disrespectful. Some of you are really basing your information and rebuttaling to my videos in racial economic lingo. Again, to get to the comments one more time on poverty, I want to remind you and try to say it a little more easier for you to understand. American democracy is overshadowed by conservative poverty. And when I say the poverty industry, I mean industry by how they're setting up the entire country. They give the welfare and everything which you see in which is clinical and pharmaceutical, like maybe state-funded health insurance as well as federal health insurance agencies, the Affordable Care Act, if you will. That is a regulated document in law and regulation in which is actually more supported in Republican supportive states as well than Democratic states. What that simply means is they will take care of states that favor the conservative rule and the conservative aspect of a bipartisan government. That is not democratic, that is fascist, conservative, and socialist. Poverty is the biggest industry with the United States government going, because they've conditioned you to believe that it's just how it is. People control money, people can help one another if people wanted to, because people invented all of this through ideas, concepts, and linguistic discussions and healthy debates and arguments which established everything we have now, which is originally and is the true democracy in which all of you keep throwing in my face that is non-existent. Yes, to combat the historical person that watched my videos, you work in the historical department in college, and I want to answer your comment, actually at Bridgewater State. Yes, and one time in the United States of America, we had actually a true democratic system because it was a colony. It was a smaller population. So in which gave you the Republican conservative, we want to establish a form of trade, as well as the democratic aspect, which was non-existent, by the way, which I have to combat this historical expert. There was only one party when we were a colony, because everybody was on the same page. Democracy is a one-party concept and ideal. Everybody has to get a fair piece of the pie. So, to leave it here, I took up a little more time than I wanted to. I hope this covers everybody's comments, because everybody that is commenting, you guys are giving me a one-sided ideal. You say you have democracy, but again, you have it through economic targets in which people will give you your democracy, they will give you your rights, they will make sure you have them, your civil rights and civil liberties if you're a conservative supporter. If you're a liberal, Democrat, progressive, you have to sustain your own. You have to sustain your own because you will not be respected in a conservative country. Economically speaking, fiscally speaking, and speaking in terms of military, as well as state and local level political leadership, the more conservative the state is, the better off that state actually is through observing the social media, the population, and the economy of that state. So this is also small sociology that I'm giving you as well. If you don't understand what I'm saying, please go look at please learn to read data, bar graphs, and actually learn how to read a little bit speaking in stock market numbers. Because the trade is a lot more sustainable in a lot of these Republican-run states. I hope you all enjoy this. I wanted to take a couple days to make sure that I do this correctly and make sure I explain it in a way some of you may have trouble understanding. I'm glad to see some of you conservative disagreements actually watching this and actually hearing it and helping me. A lot of you have given me positive criticism, and I want to thank you for that. Some of you conservatives are starting to understand where I'm coming from. So if you're a donor and you're a conservative and you understand where I'm coming from, and you also have the same ideal and the same philosophy, maybe if you're a donor, you should probably keep your money to let that politician know that you've lost their support, because this can go either two ways. If to get to on one more comment, well, we'll see when it reaches the United States government and the Supreme Court. This will never reach the Supreme Court in our lifetime. This will never reach the Supreme Court in my toddler's lifetime. This will reach the Supreme Court when we actually have the worst effects of global warming and everybody is at the point of starving and sickness is rampant. That's the only time you will probably ever even get an inkling of this kind of philosophy in a colonial conservative Republican government that wants to keep telling you that you're a democratic country. Peace.